Good afternoon, Erickson. Put your hands up if you have children between the age of 5 and 20. Excellent, quite a few here. I hope all of you find a lot of value in what I'm going to be speaking for the next 10 to 15 minutes. I have two children of my own that I'm aware of. So my daughter, who is 15 years old, I think, and my son, who is 12 years old. My son is generally average, above average in academics, and he's quite good in mental mathematics. He also is pursuing the Indian classical violin, Carnatic music, and his knowledge of ragas are fantastic, out of the ordinary, because I learned myself Indian classical violin for 10 years, and he surpasses me in a lot of the intricate knowledge of that field. He likes to toy with origami as well, and lately he's picked up some fondness for Sanskrit. So one thing that always bothered me was he always seems to be this child who is very introvertish. I felt somehow, if he's not going to be outspoken and comes out and takes part in plays and other things, he's going to be, very difficult for him in this dog-eat-dog corporate world. So that's always been eating me inside. So what happened is this summer there was an opportunity for putting him into a kind of a summer camp. They were teaching this Indian Gurukul system way of living and learning Sanskrit in Vedic mantras and chanting. And like I said, he was good in Sanskrit, so he said, I was surprised that he said, okay, I'll go. And that means living in Chennai, 2 weeks away from us. So he and 15 other kids were in this camp. There was very minimal interaction that we could have with the children during these 2 weeks. So at the end of 2 weeks, the organizers call all the parents for a kind of a showdown, so to speak. These 16 children are going to put up a show, conversing in Sanskrit and reciting some of the mantras they learned. And I was very excited for the very reason. One is, how much has he learned, but more importantly, has he come out of his, the introvertish world, and is he going to be talking there? So me and my wife packed our bags, go to Chennai. Here we are in this informal kind of a gathering with other parents and children, waiting eagerly at 6:30 p.m. And these 15, 16 children line up on stage. Boy, you can imagine and I saw him standing in the corner behind two children. I said, man, he hasn't learned his lessons. And the more I feared, the thing happened. He didn't speak a single word during the 2-hour showdown, whereas the rest of the 15 or 16 children, they had at least a paragraphs or at least a couple of words to speak. And we were going back home. It was a long ride, and I kind of made him aware of how I felt. After watching movies like Tare Zameen Par and looking at all the WhatsApp videos, I knew I shouldn't be very harsh on him. At the same time, I felt like as a good dad, I had to tell him how I felt. But he seems to be least perturbed by it. Same thing in sports as well. When he's playing soccer, it's more often the football chasing him than him chasing the football. And cricket, like one evening I was going for a walk in my neighborhood, and we have a playground, and I saw him playing cricket with other children. And when his turn came to bat, he was shying away from it. Come on, growing up, all of us wanted a bat, right? And same with most other children. He seems to be again shying away. That's when I felt, we have a problem child. I felt I have to have this father-son conversation again that evening. So I was preparing myself mentally. I was going home. It was a very slow walk. I could remember that. And I was waiting for him to come home. Just about the same time he came, a close friend of mine for the last 28 plus years. He's also my current neighbor. He walks into my house, and then something happened that evening. Something that changed my outlook completely. He saw a few paper planes that my son has made, these paper planes through origami. And my friend just went ballistic. These weren't any just mere kind of, mere flattering words. These were genuinely coming from his heart. He was going into the intrinsic details of the planes. And this caught my son's attention. He walks into the room. This is a kid who shies away from people, right? He walks into the room, and then he brings 2 or 3 dozen more planes into the room. And he starts to show with him. And these are like two boys talking to each other. And my son's face went like a 1,000-watt bulb. And he was telling, this is a F-15, F-16, this is a difference, the fuselage, etc., right? I'm looking back and said, yes, we have a problem child in the house. The problem child is not my son, it's me. I should have grown up. I should have had this thought that I haven't grown up. I felt I haven't grown up. I should have had this thought that every child is different. Why should he be extrovert like any other child, other children? Why can't he be good in Sanskrit? Why can't he be good in origami? Why can't he be good in mental math and do the things the way he wants it to? What's wrong with that? The second story that I like to narrate was actually narrated by one of my Ericsson colleagues a few months ago. And this happened in one of the very popular private school in Bangalore. His son is about 6 or 7. He goes, like I said, goes to school, and then it's sports day. And all the kids were asked to carry a cup of water and go from start to finish. The one rule is, do not spill the water. I guess when we were growing up, we used to have the spoon and lemon. I guess lemons are more expensive. They switched to water and cups today. So anyway, so as you might have imagined, the physical instructor blows the whistle. Off we go. All these children start to dash. If you haven't guessed, most of the kids didn't even have water left in the cup. Whereas my friend's son, as he says, he has this unique habit of following the rules of the books. He took his own sweet time, making sure the water is not spilled, and as expected, he was the last one to finish. Who do you think the school teachers gave the first prize to, or the second or the third prize? If you think it was my friend's son, boy, you couldn't be more wrong. Here was a great opportunity for the school to inculcate the values of following the rules and discipline and no shortcuts, and they blew it. They had this wonderful opportunity to tell those kids who came first, say, guys, you did fine, but you did not follow the rules, so you're disqualified. Whereas the more worrisome factor is telling my friend's son, not as many words, but it's like as if saying, if you're going to be following these rules, you're not going to be a winner in life. Right? That's the kind of message we're passing to these kids inadvertently. Let's take a step back now. So, as a society, as government, what are we doing? The current Indian government took a big agenda when they took office 4.5 years ago. There are a lot of good stuff. They had talked about Swachh Bharat, Clean Ganga, no corruption, anti-corruption agendas. They talked about electrification of all villages. All great stuff. But I wish they had put one thing on the top of the agenda. And that would have been, the kids are our number one priorities. And here's why. Swachh Bharat is great. But if we think having this clean attitude or clean Ganges or anti-corruption, etc., we're going to reform the entire 1.3 billion population in a matter of few months or even years, it's like boiling the ocean. Well, that is happening. They needed to have this great start. And how do they do that? If they said, we are going to focus on these children, these uncorrupted minds of, let's say, 10 and below, and the children are going to go on today and tomorrow, and have this agenda saying, we are going to provide this great ambience for these children to grow with the values and other things in life. Make sure nobody even touches a single child inappropriately, and they get harshest punishments. Make sure they're never left malnourished. Make sure they don't go to child labor. Simple things. Make sure every child gets a basic education and basic health. So as government, if we don't provide that, how are these kids going to go to school or get the right value system? So if I could summarize these three things, right? So as a child, the first education happens at home. And if we as parents don't recognize what they want in life, and when they go to school, if they don't get the right values inculcated, and as a government, if we don't provide the proper cover or umbrella with a lot of holes in it, how are they going to take these values? Scientists and researchers have always said, evolution is at best if we take all intellectualism into account. And that means intellectualism into various fields, not just academics. Intellectualism into carpentry, photography, music, sports. Whereas all the focus is on one thing, that is academia. Every child has to go from grade 1 to grade 10. I mean, earlier we used to have till grade 12, but at least grade 10, they have to study all the subjects from mathematics, physics, chemistry, history, geography, civics, Why do they have to go through the grind of every subject at every level? Instead, we can turn the tables around a little bit, right? Hypothetically, if we can provide the cushion of them to, for example, math from grade 1 to 10. Instead, say we provide math 1 to 10, 1 being counting numbers to 10 being trigonometry. And similarly, for every subject, if we can start to put those levels and have every child choose the subjects they want. Say, let's say start with level 1 at a grade 1, and as they climb up the grades, they can drop the certain subjects they don't want to. For example, if my son is not passionate about mathematics, he can opt out of that after level 4 or level 5. So it could be a kind of a pyramidal thing. So if my daughter, for example, she's awesome in visual communications and art, etc. Luckily today, unlike me when I was studying, she has the opportunity to pursue visual communication and arts and psychology when she goes to grade 11. Instead, if we could start this much earlier, she doesn't have to go through the grind of trigonometry and calculus and stuff which she's going through today. Instead, she could have a deeper focus on some of these intricate aspects of art and visual communication. Wouldn't that be nice? Einstein once said, everybody is born a genius. But if you expect a fish to climb a tree, it's going to be left throughout his life thinking it's stupid. How many of you have such fish in your house? How many of you would like to have this new education system? Wouldn't that be nice if we have that for our children? Thank you.